ABA 624, Deck 1, 42 cards. Uses head counts to tally on-task behavior at the moment an interval ends. Play check, planned activity check. Voice volume is best measured by blank. Magnitude. Measure of opportunities needed to master shoelace tying. Trials to criteria. Shorter IRTs equal blank rates of response. Higher. Play check uses a blank with the total number of organisms in the group. Tally. An appropriate measure for behaviors that occur at very high rates or are continuous is blank. Duration. The amount of time in which behavior occurs. Duration. Interval recording that doesn't require continuous attending to measurement. Momentary time sampling. The number of response opportunities needed to achieve a predetermined level of performance. Trials to criteria. The teacher records if Nia is out of her seat the second the timer goes off for the interval. Momentary time sampling. The interval is counted if the behavior occurs at any point during the interval. Partial interval recording. Latency is typically reported by the mean, blank, and range of individual latencies per observation period. Median. The teacher records how many students are adding blocks the second the timer goes off for the interval. Planned activity check. Play check. Duration per occurrence is the amount of time each blank of the behavior occurs. Instance. The blank the observation intervals, the more likely whole interval recording will underestimate actual occurrence. Longer. The amount of time between two consecutive responses of a response class. IRT, aside inner response time aside. The teacher records a check for the interval if Nia calls out at all during the interval. Partial interval recording. The force or intensity with which a response is emitted. Magnitude. The teacher records a check for the interval if Nia screams for the entire interval. Whole interval recording. Measuring magnitude can be responding above or below a certain blank. Intensity. Momentary time sampling is not recommended for low blank or short duration behaviors. Frequency. Ratio consisting of the dimensional qualities of count and time is blank or rate. Frequency. A partial interval recording is likely to blank total duration. Overestimate. On-task behavior or rapid jerks of the hands would best be measured by blank. Duration. When a specific instance of behavior occurs with respect to the previous behavior is blank blank. IRT. Aside inner response time aside. Discrete trials are best measured by percentage or blank. Trials to criterion. Whole interval recording blank, the overall percentage that behavior actually occurred. Underestimates. 10 sight words per minute is an example of rate or blank. Frequency. Recording whether the target behavior is occurring at the moment each time interval ends. Momentary time sampling. Partial interval recording is likely to blank high frequency behavior. Underestimate. Latency measures the elapsed time from a blank to the corresponding response. Stimulus. Total duration per session is the blank amount of time the organism engages in the behavior. Cumulative. Count is less meaningful than blank or rate because rate can be compared. Frequency. Also known as rate. Playcheck records the behavior of blank organisms in a larger group at the end of an interval. Individual. Trials to criterion is the number of blank opportunities needed to achieve a predetermined level of performance. Responses. The time elapsed between the end of one screaming response and the start of the next. IRT, aside inner response time, aside. The interval is counted if the behavior occurs throughout the entire interval. Whole interval recording. The time elapsed from when the picture card is presented and the student says dog. Latency. Longer IRTs equal blank rates of response. Lower. Measuring magnitude can be responding above or blank a certain force. Below. The elapsed time between the onset of a stimulus and the initiation of a subsequent response. Latency.